I'm Allison Jonjak, the Cranberry Outreach Specialist with the University of Wisconsin-Madison Division of Extension. These videos are the on-demand recordings of UW Extension and the Wisconsin State Cranberry Growers Association's virtual brown bag lunch series. These monthly sessions offer growers and researchers a way to share timely and relevant information. We hope you'll enjoy and continue to engage with us.
Hi, I'm Tom Lochner, the Executive Director of the Wisconsin State Cranberry Growers Association. We're excited to be a partner with Extension to bring you research-backed resources, tools, and tips to keep Wisconsin marshes productive and profitable.
And so as we kick off, as the growing season gets underway, we are going to have growing season updates. We're going to have today the standard housekeeping. So if you have a question, either unmute yourself to ask a question at any time or type a question in the chat. If you have a question that you'd like me to ask on your behalf, in the chat you can say "to" and make the chat just to me, and I will ask that question for you anonymously. So we do want people to feel comfortable to ask questions, whether out loud or by chat. We have the live transcripts on for those who like transcripts. Click the more and say view transcript. And this morning, Tom and Alex are not able to join, so they had sent over a quick welcome that I'll give on their behalf. Then we're going to have our consultant update and what we're seeing in the field and what we're looking at in the future with Suzanne Arendt of Red Forest IPM. From DATCAP, Alyssa Foss is going to give us the common questions and common issues with worker protection questions as we move into the beginning of the season. And then Sean Steffen's going to join us for an overview of how the commercialization of the nematode projects is progressing, how those patents are working and all of these things. So I'm going to read the quick welcome from Tom, and then I will hand it over to Suzanne. Tom says, here we go. I usually say good morning. Tom usually says good afternoon from the Wisconsin State Cranberry Growers Association. We're sorry that we're not able to join you all today for the May brown bag. Recent activities at the association include efforts to fill the publication, education, and communications manager position and work with the 14-mile watershed group. So those in the 14-mile watershed will wind up hearing more on those progresses. We've also been busy preparing for upcoming events. The Wycliffe Cranberry Open will be held on June 7th at the Bullseye Golf Club. Applications for the Wisconsin Cranberry Leadership Development Program are due by July 20th. The WSCGA annual summer meeting, field day, and trade show will be hosted by the Wisconsin Cranberry Research Station at the station in Millston on August 10th. So mark those dates, and please watch the WSCGA news and your email for more information on those events. So with that quick message from Tom, I'm going to hand us over to Suzanne to hear the word on the ground.
Anyway, so I'll just say good day then instead of good morning or good afternoon. So thank you all for participating in the May brown bag. And I've been out in the field for the past 2 weeks, and it certainly has been interesting. As you all know, we went from winter to a second winter to 1 day of spring and then to summer. So it's been kind of a crazy start to the season, that's for sure. I think April, generally, we were cooler and did not have as much precipitation as we normally do, but we certainly made that up last night. The ground has been dry, so some areas got 7/8 of an inch, others even more. It was a really nice rain, and I haven't heard of any hail issues, although that was a big concern. I don't think that it materialized. As far as vine condition, I'm covering the central Wisconsin area, so I can't really speak about the northern properties. But overall, I think bud set looks good. I'm impressed with the majority of the vines out there, the hybrids, the Stevens, even the Benliers, are looking good as well. One of the concerns that I have on a few of the marshes, there's sort of a central area where we had that hail in April, and now we're starting to see side shoots. So really over the last few days, the vines have moved enough to really show sort of some of the impacts of that hail event. And I know that there's, quite a few growers who have made a hail request. And I know that they're going to be coming back out in a couple of weeks to look at those vines. They've left all of those accounts open. So we'll see what happens. I can't say either way, because as far as vegetative, is it really going to impact the crop or not? I think we need to wait. And again, we'll know more in a couple of weeks. And there is a lot of areas where even though there's side shoots, I'm seeing productive buds. So in some cases you have 2 side shoots but have a really nice productive bud. In other cases, there's actually a couple of productive buds and then maybe, a vegetative side shoot. So I don't feel comfortable making any opinion on where we sit. The majority of the acreage that I looked at was yesterday during the rain. So I didn't get to take any pictures to, really come back and look at a lot of things. And I was kind of chasing, or the storm was chasing me. So I didn't have as much time to look around. With that warm weather that we had last week, I've been seeing just about every single early season pest that we have there as far as insects are concerned. Black-headed fireworm, rannoch looper, black spanworm, green spanworm, starting to see some false armyworms. I have seen leafhoppers, but not blunt nose. So we're a little bit too early for that. The spargs, still a little bit too early for them as well. But generally speaking, the majority of our very early season pests are present. They're not at economic thresholds at this point. Looking at this week, obviously it's been cooler and we're going into a cool weekend and a cool start to next week with some frost watch. So as far as that, the hatching, development, emergence, and activity of those insects, with the way the weather is right now, I think we're kind of going to stabilize and probably looking at implementing management strategies for some of the warmer marshes toward the end of next week. And even in some of those areas where it is warmer, may be able to wait until after the holiday. It just kind of depends on the marsh, their history, what issues they have. And then, the cooler marshes as we go east, majority of them, I don't see them doing anything until after, after the beginning of June for sure, probably maybe the second week of June, if I had to use my crystal ball, but certainly, we continue to watch the weather and monitor what's going out in the field and, make decisions and change our decisions on a daily basis, depending on what's happening out there. With the warm weather, I think we're seeing some castor-on applications that got put down a little bit later than what growers wanted to. Some of them being at bud break in certain areas. So I'm interested to keep an eye on what's going to happen with those. I've talked to some of those growers. Really, it's just last week they needed to get their grass herbicides down, and then it was 90 degrees and 80 degrees, and castor-on really volatilizes when we get that high of a temperature. We really want to do those applications when it's cooler. So they waited, but it really was the kind of pushing the limit for some of those growers. So we'll keep an eye on it, obviously hoping for the best, maybe just even if it's just a little slight setback, we'll just continue monitoring them. As far as flooding, at the moment, I don't know of any growers that are flooding currently. I think right now, it would be a great time if they checked their boards last night, and probably have nearly a surface flood in some areas anyway. Yeah, we're getting to a point where flooding is going to be iffy, especially with the renovated beds. We're seeing, nice elongation in some areas up to a ½ inch on the newer planted hybrids. But everything is moving. We're starting to watch frost at, some guys are they set their alarms for 36, so they make sure that they're covering all those cold spots. By the time they get everything up and running, it's probably 32, so giving yourself a little bit of a buffer with those temperatures is probably a good idea, just to ensure that that your cold spots haven't changed. Some Bravo applications have gone down. With that being said, for the upright dieback issues, we had a few growers that were showing signs of that last year. And so that timing is about a ½ inch of growth in Wisconsin. And those are going down this week, but have to, make communication with your handler to make sure that you're following their pre-harvest intervals and their regulations. So, looking at, fanfare, for example, make sure that you talk to your handlers. That's I think 120-day pre-harvest interval. I'd like to use it. It's just going to be tough for a lot of growers to be able to utilize that product. But I have experience with it in hops and of course with mosquitoes. So I'm really excited to play around with it and see what kind of residual we can get with that, longevity with that product. So yeah, it's I'm looking forward to the season. I'm glad to be out, and hopefully we can get through the Memorial Day weekend without the weather that we had last year, which was detrimental. Yeah.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Thank you for all those updates, Suzanne. Do we have any questions from the chat, whether questions directly for Suzanne, or we can run kind of polls across the growers of what we're seeing? We've got a minute or two extra here. And I had one quick request also, while Suzanne mentioned seeing a couple of leafhoppers, but no blunt nose ones yet. I am able to do most of the trial research that I've got scheduled for this year at the research station with Wade, but blunt nose leafhoppers are one that Wade doesn't have, and we don't really want to import them. So if anyone is aware that they have blunt nose leafhopper, whether or not you're going to be doing your own control, if someone would be willing to give me a 70-foot wide by either 100-foot long or 70-foot by 50-foot twice, if those are in nearby locations, I'm going to be doing a pre-bloom, nymph control test of 9 different products, and then a post-bloom test on adults of 10 different products. So if anyone would be willing to let me have 70 by 50-foot areas, reach out to me, and I will be grateful for access to your leafhoppers.
Is that crop destruct then, or?
There are 2 products that are crop destruct, and so my commitment is that I'll have them out of your bed at least a week before you would be planning to harvest. So total, it's like less than it's just 2 products. So it's just the those 10 little 7 by 10 squares. So hopefully not too traumatic. Feel free to send in questions via the chat and also via unmute yourself and ask questions. Christelle adds that we would really appreciate it for the leafhopper trial, because there's it's important for us to find out what we can have in our arsenal to take care of those. Awesome. I guess if we're short of questions for Suzanne here, feel free again to ask them in the chat as we go. And Suzanne, thank you for all of your observations so far. I want to thank Sean and Alyssa and Suzanne, as well as all of you guys for joining and for answering in our polls as we've had them. And I will be sending out information about June's mini clinic next. It'll be again the third Friday of June. It's going to feature Pam and Jed and Leslie. And I will, again, if you see blunt-nosed leafhopper and you're willing to leave me 70 feet by 100 feet of an unsprayed plot so that I can do some pre and post bloom testing, I am all ears for that. So thank everyone so much, and I will we'll see you next time.